Hello, Crimestituents. I hope you're doing fabulous today. How are you doing today, Sarah?
I'm good. So I have a job, obviously a day job, and I do a podcast, and I'm also planning my wedding this year.
You've got a lot going on.
So I'm only overwhelmed 100% of the time. And right now I'm working on my invites.
Exciting.
So yeah, it is very exciting. Spending way too much money on invites. Everything with weddings is so expensive. It really is such a racket. But again, as my mom always said, weddings and marriage is worth celebrating.
Yes. It's worth. I remember my big unnecessary purchase when I got married was my wedding shoes. I spent $700 on them.
Where did you get shoes?
It was this boutique, and
really
they were I was really obsessed with the fact that they were handmade and
wait, I love that.
Very nice.
Do you still have them?
Yeah, I can show them to you. They're beautiful.
After this, I want to see them.
But they were crazy expensive.
I kind of I'm not gonna say I cheaped out on my shoes, but my shoes are not expensive. But my dress is over, but pretty much everything is over budget.
Nice. Nice.
You're like, oh, we'll go over budget here, and then all of a sudden you're going over budget with everything. So I hope you're excited to attend.
Harley. I'm so excited to attend. I have a line item in my budget called Sarah's Wedding.
Yes.
Putting money towards it every month.
Yes.
So very exciting. Did you see your save the date on my fridge?
No, I didn't.
It's
I didn't
up
even
there.
look. Oh my gosh. So I didn't put proper postage on well, I put the same postage on all of them, and I guess whoever the mailman was that day decided that a few of them needed an extra stamp.
Oh no.
For some reason, so I've had some come back. So Ashley, I know you listen to my podcast. You're one of them. I've been meaning to text you, but I have your save the date at my house. It says that I needed another 3 cents for postage.
You're so cheap, Sarah.
I'm so cheap. Luckily for my invites, because I send the save the dates out, which are a magnet, and that was easy. I did it through Shutterfly. But for the invites, the lady who I've contracted to design them, because she's gonna make us a nice little crest with an S and a K.
Cute.
Because my name is Sarah and Kari's name is Tom. I almost like Kari. No, so Kari's name is Kari. His last name is Tomasetti, but I decided that I want an S and a K crest over a T because it's still. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Oh, I love it.
Okay,
because those are the names that it's equally representative of you and him. It's not just his last name.
Because I figure once we're married, then I can start monogramming stuff or just buy T stuff for the last name. But also, I love how you keep throwing out his last name on this podcast.
Full name. What's his middle name? Let's go.
I don't know if you would appreciate that. Put him on blast. But yeah, I think for the wedding, I wanted a nice little S and K.
Are y'all doing DJ or live band, or what's your music?
Okay, so we are doing strings.
Ooh.
For the ceremony and then the cocktail hour, and then the party really starts. And then we'll have a DJ come in and do all the actual fun stuff. I really want to tell you when I'm walking down the aisle too, but if you can bleep this out on the podcast.
Yeah, I'll bleep it out.
Okay, bleep it out. I'm going to walk down to the aisle too with the strings.
Are you really?
Yes!
I'm obsessed.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Oh my gosh, it's so you.
I bought the sheet music because they didn't originally have this in the repertoire, and I was like, "What could you guys do it?" And they're like, "As long as you buy the sheet music," and I was like, easiest $10 I ever spent. Yeah.
Does Kari know?
Yes, Kari knows.
Okay.
Kari knows.
Oh my gosh, I love it. No notes.
Yeah. So we'll have to post clips after, but you'll find out, guys, in September.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I never would have guessed it, but now that you said it, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, so what's going on with you?
So Forrest and I looked at a condo today, which was exciting. It's the first property that we've toured for potentially buying, which was fun. We're not going to buy it.
Yeah.
I know. We're not going to buy it. It didn't quite check all our boxes. But we're not really in like a crazy rush. Our lease isn't up until August.
Okay.
And then we can go month to month after that. So we might buy a house this summer. It might be another year.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really know. Just kind of feeling it out right now.
Well, hopefully you don't move to Maryland.
I know. It's on the table, unfortunately. We found this really cute little yellow house in Maryland.
Oh,
that's
no.
so adorable, and 5 bedrooms. But I think it's going to sell too quickly for us. So
my old boss always used to say, and she's also a Virginia native, so she is like very biased, but she always used to say that Maryland is like all the scraps put together.
Yeah.
She's like, you look at a map of it and it's just like a little bit here, a little bit there. Like it's the scraps that no one wanted.
Well, that's why I can afford a house there.
Yeah.
I have a very, very crazy episode for you.
All right.
But this, for our listeners, is going to be a little bit different than any episode that we've done before on Crime in Congress. We've actually talked about doing a session like this for a while. It just hasn't happened yet. So it's finally time to introduce you to another type of content that this podcast covers. If you've been listening for any stretch of time, first of all, thank you. And second of all, you know that we cover political crime, political scandals, and my personal favorite, hometown murders with members of Congress. But there's another important puzzle piece here that is missing. There are several high-profile crimes, many of them murders, that had nothing to do with politics when the act was committed. But thanks to activism by family members following the tragedy, laws were passed or changed in order to protect would-be victims from becoming, well, victims. Today, we are going to bring you the story of Kari's Law, who Kari is, not Sarah's fiance.
Spelled differently.
Yes. The crimes committed against her, whether justice was served, and how her family gave their pain a purpose to make the rest of us a little bit safer. She's Sarah.
She's Harley. And we're gaveling in another session of Crime in Congress.
Kari Renee Hunt was born February 9th, 1982 in Austin, Texas, to parents Henry Hunt Jr. and Cindy Lee Todd. She was one of 4 children, 2 sisters and a brother, was raised Catholic, and was known as a loyal person who loved her family deeply. She spent her teen years at Marshall High School in Harrison County. Not for nothing, Kari was beautiful. Blonde hair, dark eyes, the signature eyebrows of the 2010s, aka thin, and a bright smile that made you feel instantly warm and welcome. Sarah, can you read this story that her father shared on the FCC's More Than 7 Dirty Words podcast?
I absolutely can. The best way for me to describe Kari is a day that we went out together. I think she was about 7 or 8 at the time, during the summer. I had a little Bronco too, just a little 4-wheel drive vehicle. And we went out below Mansfield Dam in Austin. And we were 4-wheeling down there. And it was great. A little bit of land, green, bright green grass, some trees, but it had a creek running up through the middle of it. It was only about 10 inches deep and a rock bottom about 15 feet wide. Not a big deal. But I pulled up to it and I said, if you weren't with me, then I would go through it. But I'm not going to do that. And she kept asking me, let's do it. Let's do it. And I said, no, you're with me and I'm not going to chance this thing. It's not going to float anywhere because it's just a small creek, but still. And I looked over at her and she grabbed her seatbelt and she tightened it real quick. And she reached up and grabbed the handhold and she looked at me and she said, chicken. Needless to say, we made it through the creek and we did it several times. But that's the way she was every day. Challenges, she loved jokes. If it had to do with the family, she was there.
I feel like I would have been friends with Kari.
Oh,
she
absolutely.
Seems cool.
Totally.
I do wish I could tell you more about her upbringing, but from this little anecdote, it sounds like she had a happy childhood and was deeply loved by those around her.
Mm-hmm.
In January 2004, she would have been 19, almost 20. She was out at a club in Longview, Texas, when she met a man named Brad Dunn. Brad had dark features, short hair, facial scruff, and must have won her over that night because within months they would be married and expecting their first child. I think that order was reversed. I think child came before marriage, but
okay.
Regardless,
sure.
I would think it was like 7 months that all of us happened in. The couple would go on to have 3 children, daughters Brianna, the oldest, and Kylie, and a son named Zane. Her father described her as a not very strict mom who wanted her children to grow up properly. He said she made sure they didn't hang on to bottles or pacifiers for too long, and that she was a very loving mother. While her upbringing and demeanor as a parent may have been full of love, her relationship was anything but. I didn't find any allegations of Brad physically abusing Kari. It appears his attitude towards her was more verbal and emotional abuse. But that doesn't mean he didn't have a violent past. Apparently, he had been charged with assault after he pushed his first wife when he learned that she was having an affair.
Do we know how old Brad was when they met? Because she was 19, almost 20.
I don't know how old he was, but his age is never brought up as a concern, so I think they're around the same age.
Okay, but he just had been married previously.
Yes, he had been married previously.
Okay.
But things really came to a head in November 2013, the night that Kari went to a wedding stag because Brad had to work.
I love the term stag. Like, that's
Isn't it
so
great?
funny. Yeah, what's a wedding stag? Like,
It's so like Sex in the City.
Yeah, I love it.
The rest of the story is pieced together through witness testimony, Kari's father's account, and Brad's own words. So I want to emphasize that we need to take a lot of these details with a grain of salt.
Okay.
Kari took her children to her sister's house, where they would be babysat while she was out having fun at the wedding. I believe the wedding was on a Saturday, and they were staying the night. This made sense because the wedding was in Marshall, about 70 miles from where the family lived. So they weren't going to be out there partying, drinking.
Yeah, exactly. And then drive home. Yeah, sure.
That Sunday morning, the family was packing up their clothing and getting ready to make the drive home when Kari's kids said something shocking. They didn't want to go home. This wasn't your standard kids having so much fun that they wanted to stay longer kind of wanting to stay. This was coming from a genuine fear and dissatisfaction with their home life with Brad. Clearly, this conversation stuck with Kari, and I'm sure there were plenty more factors that went into this decision. But when Brad reached out later that day asking, "Hey, what time are you coming in so I can get dinner ready?" Kari responded, "I'm not coming home. I want a divorce." According to Brad, this news came out of absolutely nowhere, but I doubt that heavily.
Yeah.
If he was shocked, he was probably ignoring some signs. This was obviously a very tense time for the now separated couple, but for a time things stayed mostly civil. If you ask Brad, that is.
I see.
According to Kari's father, during this period of time, Brad was making threats against her life, which was frightening the family and making them wary of him having any contact at all with Kari or especially the kids.
Right.
Because of where the story ends up, I tend to believe the father's version of events.
Got it.
Kari stayed with her sister for about 3 weeks, during which time Brad was kept away from the children and only had contact with Kari. For good reason, if you ask me. But Brad was getting increasingly desperate to see his children. The emotion, valid, but his actions, not so much. After weeks of not being able to see his kids, Brad was growing suspicious of Kari and was looking for someone to blame for their divorce, other than himself, of course. That's when he decided to cross a major boundary and hack into her Facebook account.
Question. When we say hack in...
Probably just means guess the password.
I was like, because Kari knows the password that I use for pretty much everything. Yeah.
I mean, you have my Facebook login info. So
hack is a strong word.
Yeah, hack is a strong word.
Let's not give Brad too much credit, on this one.
And guess the password to her Facebook account.
Yeah.
That's what I should say. And just to anyone listening, if you find yourself needing to snoop through a partner's phone or social media, you're already in a bad relationship, just period, point blank.
1000%.
The only time that Forrest doesn't have access to my phone is during like Christmas and his birthday, because I'll like text plans and like gifts and stuff to people.
Oh, yeah.
And so those are the only times of the year when it's like, hey, do not look at my phone.
Yeah.
But other than that,
I leave my I am constantly always like, oh, can you add an alarm to my phone or something like that?
Well, Forrest and I got tired of always like putting in the wrong password when I would pick up his phone or he would pick up my phone. So we have the same phone password. It's just
Wait,
easier.
that's cute.
Just a lot easier. And my phone password was the date of my first kiss in high school. So obviously we used his,
you had to change yours.
His
Yeah,
phone
that's
password.
insane. Who are you?
So I will never forget February 8th.
Who was it with?
His name was Morgan.
Okay.
My mom was in the other room. It was very romantic. Just a little peck on the lips.
Yeah.
Very romantic.
It changed your life forever, though.
Oh, it really did. While digging through her Facebook messages, at first Brad didn't find anything of note. But when he looked through her deleted messages, something immediately caught his eye. Kari had been talking to a man named Todd Liston.
Okay, so who is Todd?
That depends on who you ask. According to Kari, they were just old friends from high school. But according to Brad, there was something far more insidious going on.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, one of the messages said, quote, "I enjoyed last night." Yeah.
That would freak me out too if I saw that. That would freak me out.
I agree. I would, not that I'm defending Brad in any way, shape, or form, but I would probably jump to the same conclusion that he does.
Objectively, if I saw that text,
yeah,
on my man's phone, yeah, no,
because it implies that they were together or spoke and enjoyed their time together, which is like, why are you enjoying?
Why
your time
are you with someone else? But me? And enjoying your time with someone else other than me?
No.
Not possible.
But despite no concrete evidence of an affair, other than this very flirtatious, in my opinion, text message, he immediately jumped to the conclusion that they were dating and Kari was having a sexual relationship with this man.
But they're separated, right? Too.
They are separated.
So even if, I guess you have to look at the timeline of the text messages or the DMs or whatever. But okay, anyways, go on. Sorry.
They're separated, but I think Brad's whole thing is like, we're still married.
I see. Yeah.
So you should be single.
Got it.
We're married, so you should be single. That doesn't make sense, but
but I get it. Yeah.
But unfortunately, things are about to get even worse. Once Brad got into his head that Kari was seeing Todd, he went ballistic. According to the Marshall News Messenger, 140 text messages would be exchanged between Todd and Kari during their separation that were solely about her relationship, or what Brad believed to be her relationship, with Todd. That's just text messages, not phone calls, which we can be pretty sure were also taking place. Brad was already fuming, but when he learned that Todd had actually been spending time around his children and they were allegedly planning to move in together, things went from worse to way worse.
Allegedly planning into, like, did that say on the messages, or is this just like word of mouth, or like?
I don't know where he got that from. I guess it could have been in a text message, but he didn't actually have any concrete proof.
He could have just been like,
he didn't have.
He saw one thing, and then like he jumped to conclusions.
So like at this phase, he had no concrete proof of a relationship.
Wow.
And so however he found that out, it couldn't be proven.
Sure, got it. Okay.
But this was a line that Brad was not willing to let Kari cross. That's when Brad gets the great idea to call Todd and confront him.
This could only go well.
Right? Now, we don't know exactly what was said on this call, but we can imagine there were a lot of expletives, likely some threats, and that it just generally did not go well for anyone involved. According to Brad's eventual testimony at trial, which I take with a grain of salt, Kari texted him during this conversation saying, quote, "Tell me what you're saying to Todd or you won't see the kids." That's when Brad told Todd, "See, this is what I have to go through to see my kids." To which Todd replied, "I'm the only friend you've got now." To which Brad replied, "I don't need you to be my friend."
Weird exchange.
Yeah. I also have a hard time believing that things stayed that civil.
Weird exchange. Yeah. I don't. Go on.
Seems like some sugarcoating going on there. Kari and Brad would go on to exchange a total of 63 more text messages after this conversation.
This is exhausting. Can you imagine? Oh.
I send 63 text messages a month, maybe.
Right? Yeah.
Which
you should see the unread.
Oh my gosh.
Number of unreads. Should we compare?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think mine's going to be higher.
Harley, what is your number of unread text messages?
My number of unread text messages is 177.
Harley.
What?
Do you think that's bad?
Yes.
Mine is 727.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't feel bad anymore. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's like way worse. Okay, I don't feel bad at all anymore.
I was like, when you were like, I think I'm worse than you, I'm like, wow, I've never met my match before with unread. Like, people usually are like shocked.
People are usually shocked by mine.
Yeah.
So now I got to tell people, it's like, you don't know how bad it can get.
Things can really get out of hand.
Well, thank you for responding to my text messages.
Yeah. I prioritize.
I'm not more than one of those, if any. So thank you. So during this exchange of texts, an interesting result would come from them. After 3 weeks, Kari agreed to meet Brad on Sunday, December 1st, 2013, at the Baymont Inn so that he could spend a week with the children.
Okay.
To quote Kari's father, she took the kids to him, which she was not supposed to do. And if she was here now, I'd bean her in the head. But she took the kids there. He had been threatening to kill her, which was scary to all of us.
Yeah.
I never dreamed, never in my life did I dream he would do what he did. When they got to the hotel, the 3 children, the oldest being just 9 years old, sat down on the bed and began watching cartoons. So far, so good. Kari and Brad went outside to smoke a cigarette, but it was too cold, so they decided to come back inside. Not done smoking, the pair went into the bathroom and closed the door. Brad turned on the water so that he could ash in the sink, and Kari was ashing in the toilet. Obviously, the couple was in there to do more than just smoke, though. Mm-hmm. They had quite a bit to talk about, including a visitation schedule for the children. Unsurprisingly, though, the conversation quickly turned into an argument, with the couple's eldest daughter reporting that she heard loud and angry voices. Then they started to discuss the elephant in the room. Todd Liston.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not stupid. I know you're having sex with him, Brad said. I never had sex with him the whole time we were together, not while we were living together, Kari replied, which is a bit of an admission.
Yeah.
I hate you, Brad shot back. Likely feeling a mixture of sadness and anger, combined with the desire to not escalate things further with the father of her children, and man she presumably once loved, Kari leaned in for a hug. She said that they had to move on from one another and that they were done. Brad held her tight, knowing it was likely the last time he'd ever be able to do so. But not for the reason you're thinking. You have to let go, Kari said, recognizing that the hug had gone on for way too long. That's when Brad pulled out the knife that he kept on him.
Oh?
Don't, Kari said. But Brad had already made up his mind. With his children mere inches away, he stabbed Kari. Then he did it again, then again. In total, he stabbed her 21 times.
In the bathroom right next to the kids.
In the hotel bathroom right next to the kids. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And of course they heard.
Yeah.
So the oldest daughter asked, what's happening? Brad replied, we're just arguing. Kari had a different message. Call 911. The young girl ran to the phone and dialed 911, but the call didn't go through. So she did it again. Then again, and still nothing. No one was coming to help. You see, in order to dial out from the hotel, you have to dial a 9 first. But she didn't know that. She was 9 years old.
Because she's 9 years. Yeah. Wow.
So her calls weren't connecting.
Honestly, though, like in the heat of the moment too, it would probably take me a couple tries to even like not to mention a 9-year-old, but like to be like, oh wait, I have to dial 9 first.
Yeah, exactly. I forget to do it at work.
No one does that anymore.
Yeah. So frantic, she ran back to the bathroom and tried to force the door open. I'm not sure whether she was able to get the door open, but I hope for her sake that she wasn't, because had she made it inside, she would have been confronted with her father, covered in blood, on his knees, as her mother lay dying on the bathroom floor with the knife still lodged in her throat. Unable to get inside of the bathroom to save her mother, the eldest daughter ran outside of the hotel room and started banging on doors trying to get help. That's when she came across a couple, Natalie Mathis and Tyrone Cato. At first, they chalked the screaming up to just kids being rowdy. But when they heard the urgency with which the girl was knocking on the door, they poked their heads out to see what was going on.
Good.
I think my dad is in the bathroom killing my mom, she said.
Oh my gosh, she's 9.
Can you imagine, like, answering the door and you have a 9-year-old tell you that? They were in disbelief, and I'm sure they were hoping that this was just some wild misunderstanding. But Natalie and Tyrone went into the kids' hotel room.
I mean, that's really, like, kind of brave, too. Like, you know what I mean? I think a lot of people would be like, oh, I'm not going in there. Yeah.
Exactly. When I got to the door, I saw there was blood on the floor, Natalie said. That's when I knocked on the bathroom door.
Again, brave.
Very brave. Brad, cool as a freaking cucumber, opened the door just a crack and said, I'll be right out.
Uh-huh.
He then wiped the blood off of his wife's face, presumably cleaned himself up a little bit, and then stepped out of the door. Now, this is where Natalie and Tyrone do one thing very right and another very wrong. Once they saw the blood, Tyrone immediately knew this wasn't a game and called 911. Unfortunately, after Brad said he'd be out in a minute, Natalie stepped out of the hotel room. That's when Brad was able to dart out, grab his youngest daughter, and escape the scene of the very bloody crime. I'm not blaming Natalie, but she should have stayed in the room to at least like be able to like protect the young child.
The babies, yeah.
On his way out, he said, I'm sorry, baby. I've got to go, to his children. The oldest daughter remembered seeing her mother's blood on her father's shoes. I'm sure that memory is seared into her brain. As Brad was speeding away from the hotel with his child in the back seat, he told his 4-year-old daughter exactly what happened. One day, you'll hear that Daddy killed Mommy. I'm sorry. He then began calling pretty much everyone he knew because he wanted to confess to his crimes, but no one was answering the phone. Yeah. He had to get his crimes off his chest, though, so he decided to leave voicemails telling everyone what had happened. In a voicemail to his cousin, he said, quote, I snapped. I killed Kari. I hated her. She took everything from me. So bam, we have motive and a confession right there recorded.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Not looking good for his defense already.
Which is good.
And we're like an hour into this
right.
whole thing. Back at the hotel, the kids and the couple who were just trying to enjoy their time at the hotel before getting dragged into this nightmare.
Can you imagine?
Were waiting for the police to arrive. Brad had locked the bathroom door behind him, so no one was able to get inside. But Natalie reported that she heard an arm moving as if Kari was attempting to get someone's attention.
Okay. Here's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me just throw it out there. Did we not maybe think about breaking down the door? You know what I mean? Because I'm like, this seems like this is a hotel, a Baymont Inn in, mid 2010s. We can break down that door. Tyrone can break down this door. Natalie can break down this door.
We do everything we can to break that door down while we wait for the police to come. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm with you.
Weird, but okay.
They did have the kids to take care of, so maybe they were just prioritizing the children.
Okay, one person takes care of the babies.
Yeah. The other breaks down the
other one breaks down the door. I don't know. I feel like I would. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. You never know, I guess.
But it does tell you how close Kari was to death by the time Brad abandoned her in the bathroom because she couldn't get up to unlock the door.
She couldn't,
She couldn't move.
Yeah. Mm.
When police arrived, they got to work getting Kari out of the bathroom and issued an Amber Alert for the couple's youngest daughter. Fortunately, since they knew what car they were looking for, it wouldn't take long for them to track down their culprit and the missing child. 4 hours, to be exact.
Good.
The way they were able to find him is a little wild. A woman was sitting at a red light and was getting annoyed that her phone kept buzzing with this Amber Alert, which is a horrible reaction, but I've also been there.
Yeah.
So, like...
I've been trying to take a nap, and I'm like...
Mm-hmm. It's... Yeah. So, like, that's just human nature. Like, it's not good, but I get it.
But she did check.
She did. She ignored it the first 2 times, but the 3rd time, she did decide to check.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, the described vehicle was sitting right behind her.
Can you imagine?
No, I literally can't imagine. It's like...
I feel like I've done that before. I'm like, okay, I'm looking around, and like, of course I don't see, but like...
I do that when I see like a lost cat poster. So like with an Amber Alert and then actually finding the car right behind you.
It would be freaking out.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
But that's what a good testament, though, to how Amber Alerts work.
Exactly. And that's another episode we need to do at some point.
I would love to, yes.
So seeing that, oh my gosh, this wanted criminal is right behind me and there's a vulnerable child in the backseat.
Yeah.
She called 911 and followed the car for a few blocks, keeping her distance so that Brad wouldn't catch on to her and do something rash.
Yeah.
While on the phone with his dad, this is Brad, telling him everything that happened that day. Can you imagine getting that phone call? No. Your son is just like, hey, I killed my wife. I'm on the run right now. I abandoned my children at a hotel.
Like, what? Yeah, I can't.
While he was having this just unimaginable conversation, police sirens started wailing behind him. Frantic, he told his dad that the police had found him, and his father gave him some desperately needed clarity and good advice. Pull over.
Mm-hmm.
Brad did. He was arrested, and his child was found safe. But the officers did something next that I think the child is probably still unpacking in therapy to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Where's my mom? The girl asked. She's okay, the officer said. I want my mommy, the girl replied. I'm going to take you to your mom, okay? The officer said.
Mm.
Which...
Did the officer know really what was fully going on?
I don't know. But if he did, that's a very upsetting thing to do. Like, I understand you're in an impossible situation.
I have to think that he wasn't fully read in. Like, he was just a guy on the beat right now.
Yeah.
And, like, he was, like, closest in the... I just can't... Yeah, I don't know.
I hope that's the case. I also understand, like, even though it's not... If he did know all the details, it's not the correct response. But you are talking to this, like, 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And I could see it being a panic response in the moment.
Yeah, sure.
But it gets even more heartbreaking. Then the child asked a question that really showed that she had no grasp of the situation at all. And, like, how could she? She was 4.
Yeah.
But she said, is Daddy coming with us?
Oh.
Yeah.
No,
he's
Daddy
not.
sucks.
Kari died that day in the bathroom of the hotel at the Baymont Inn from her nearly 30 wounds, including 21 stab wounds and 8 cuts.
So she died in the bathroom. She didn't even make it to the hospital?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Yeah. Her family was devastated, to say the least. But what they were able to do next, in the midst of the worst pain imaginable, is remarkable. I'm going to tell you what happened next in Mr. Hunt's, or Kari's father's, words. When the police detective sitting next to us heard Brianna, their eldest daughter, tell me that 911 didn't work, we figured out it was because she was at a hotel. She didn't know to dial a 9 or whatever it might be. The police detective went up and I said, that was a multi-line phone. We have to press line 1, 2, 3, or 4, or a 9. She went back to the police station and she came out and said, just shook her head. She couldn't call 911 from the police station unless she dialed a 9 first.
Which, as a baby, you would have, like, as a little 9-year-old baby, you would have no understanding of that. Again, you're taught to just dial 911, and that's it. Yeah. Wow.
So I told Brianna that Papa was going to fix it. And as soon as I said those words, I had no idea what I was going to do. I got scared because she looked at me and she said, okay. So that sealed it. And thank God I found the right people that said yes. The very same day that they lost their daughter in the most horrific way possible, the Hunts had the clarity and foresight to know that they had the power to make sure no child was ever in Brianna's position ever again. I am so impressed by them.
Yeah, that's wow.
Through the Kari Hunt Foundation, I love that they dropped Brad's dumb name from Kari's when they founded the group.
Yeah.
The family began advocating for Kari's Law. Their work began with a very simple change.org petition. They didn't know what they were doing or how to be advocates yet, so they figured this was a good enough place to start. The petition caught the eye of a man named Mark Fletcher. I'm not sure if he's a lobbyist or like just some guy with connections, but it seems like he ended up being sort of their Sherpa kind of through the DC process. Then a man named Mr. Pye got involved, who was a bureaucrat working for the FCC. He sent a letter to the CEOs of hotel chains in the U.S. and the American Hotel and Lodging Association, asking them about whether their phone systems allowed direct dial access to 911. Then they began working at the state level. The idea behind Kari's Law is that the bill would require all multi-phone systems to directly dial out to 911. No pressing 9 or any other numbers needed.
Yep.
Makes sense, right? After all, we don't teach kids to dial 911.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Governor Abbott was supportive of the bill and signed it into Texas law on May 15th, 2015, surrounded by the Hunt family. This was a major win, but the Hunts knew that if they were going to make sure no one ever faced a similar situation again, they were going to have to look at federal legislation. Working with bipartisan colleagues Louis Gohmert and Henry Cuellar in the House and Amy Klobuchar and Deb Fischer in the Senate, they got to work. Quoting Senator Fischer, "A few precious seconds can save a life, and this bill will prevent tragedies like Kari's from happening again." And given the groundswell of support the bill received from both sides of the aisle, the Hunts' mission to enact Kari's Law nationwide was successful. On February 16th, 2018, President Trump signed the bill, with Kari's father and daughter present. The bill was actually signed on the 50th anniversary of the establishment of the 911 system.
Wow.
Which is a great tribute to Kari and the many, many lives saved by this emergency response service. The law officially took effect in 2020. Now, because of Kari and her family's advocacy, the entire nation is a little bit safer. And we have the peace of mind of knowing that every time we dial 911, the call is going to connect. This is such a great common sense bill, and I'm so grateful that the Hunts were able to make it happen.
Yeah. Wow. That's really an amazing story.
It really is.
Yeah.
Brad would end up pleading guilty to murdering Kari. There was still a trial, but it was just a sentencing trial, meaning the jury wasn't trying to determine whether he was guilty. They were just trying to determine what his punishment would be. The defense argued that this was a crime of passion, that Brad blacked out and didn't realize he was killing Kari until he had come to on the bathroom floor covered in her blood.
Boo.
Yeah. So many eye rolls. They pointed to the fact that he wiped blood off of her face and allegedly apologized to her while holding her before exiting the bathroom.
Boo.
I don't care. Throwing tomatoes. The jury, thankfully, did not buy his sob story.
Good.
And sentenced Brad to 99 years in prison on March 5th, 2015. This means he will certainly die in jail, and good riddance. He deserves every minute. The children were taken in by their loving grandparents, where they are, hopefully, having a peaceful and joy-filled life that honors Kari's memory, and a lot of therapy.
Yeah, 1,000%.
And that, my friends, is the story of Kari's Law and the tragic death of Kari Hunt, whose passing didn't just change a family, but the entire nation.
You know, I really appreciated this new kind of angle that you did with this, of like kind of tracing back a law and like how, you know, something so tragic can, you know, turn into something that at least ensures that the tragedy doesn't happen again, right?
Right. It's the definition, and this is an oversimplification, but it's the definition of turning lemons into lemonade.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like I'm dealing with the worst thing that you could possibly deal with, but I have the optimism and the strength to help someone else avoid this situation.
Guys, sometimes government does work.
Sometimes it works. In a bipartisan
This is the
way.
point. Yeah. Right there.
This is what it's supposed to do. Here's a good bill that makes sense, that's saving lives. It gets through Congress in a relatively, like in Congress speak, fast process, 5 years from the death to the bill being signed into law.
Remarkably fast, honestly. Yeah.
And so that is why whenever you dial 911, the call connects. It's because of Kari.
Wow. Thank you, Kari, and thank you, Brianna, and thank you, Kari Hunt's family.
Yes.
His dad.
And thank you to the Kari Hunt Foundation. Sarah, do you want to gavel us out?